Yeah, and now that we're on YouTube as well, you can just cut the thing with the quadrant into the YouTube video, right? So people can see this as you're talking about it.
Oh, okay. Now I got to cut out all your swear words and then also edit this in as well.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Because you're unemployed, right? You don't really have anything else to do. So
Yeah,
now
no,
this is
yeah,
your Monday.
exactly.
Perfect.
Hello, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Power Platform Boost podcast, your timely source of Power Platform news and updates with your host, Ulrike Ackerbeck, and myself, Nick Dolman. Hey, Ulrike, how are you today?
Hi, Nick. I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Good, good. Woke up to some snow here this morning in Ottawa.
Yeah, and same here, actually. So that's pretty weird. We're hours and hours apart and miles apart. And we both woke up to snow today. Um, my car this morning was still having those summer tires on, so I was the first one in the queue at the where the man changes the tires on my car today. And by the time I left, there were 50 people in that place, desperate for changing the tires. And I told my kids on my way to school that, yeah, no, this snow is going to be gone by the time you get home. So, don't get too excited or anything. And now it's all white. It's
Mm.
staying.
So yeah, similar here. The snow is going to be, I think, will be gone by the end of the day because always that first snow never sticks around. But I haven't changed my tires either. I was thinking on the weekend, the weather was nice. Like, do I change my tires? I'm like, nah, I can do it later because it's a big job to, get them out and, do all this. And then the way it works for me is I will think, okay, this year I'm going to get professionals to do it. And I'll throw them in the truck or the car. I'll take them down to the place. And then usually there's a huge lineup. And then I'll ask and they'll say, it's going to take a couple hours to get you through. So I get frustrated and I turn around and I go home and I do it myself. So this is
Well, we've taken it one step further. We have the tire hotel things for both of our cars now and the service. So we just pay and just go in there and just have everything and then drive the car away. It's perfect. It costs you, but it's perfect.
okay.
So yeah, we don't have to fiddle with that anymore. And also, I think my electrical bill is going to be pretty crazy now because today it was so cold. I went downstairs and I put the thermostat up, and then I realized, shit, I don't have time to go out. I said, shit, I'm sorry.
Gotta edit again.
And I said it 3 times. Sorry. No, because we have this huge hill up in our driveway, right? And so it's asphalt. And so when it snows like this, and Marius's car doesn't have it still has the summer tires on. So I had to put because we have the heat in the ground. So I had to put those on as well. So I think, going into it's going to peak pretty hard today, that electrical bill. But, what are you going to do?
It's life in northern countries. For sure.
Yes. So anyone else woke up to snow today, so this is Monday. So usually, the whole. I guess Canadians and Norwegian are pretty much the same. The only thing anyone is going to talk about today and the following week is the snow. That's everything that's on everyone's mind.
Yes, and as well as all the amazing Power Platform news that we're going to talk about today as well.
Yes, the news and updates. Whoop whoop. All right, Nick. This list is as usually we used to do this together. Now I feel it's you piling in the news and then I'm just latching on because I'm so busy. But I do have a few little tidbits in here. So the first thing you have on the news list today is Power Platform Magic Quadrant. And I know what it is, but tell us, what's the news?
So again, I think I've talked about this before. Is hold on a second, I'm just rearranging my screens here. So
just pulling it up to read it.
No, I've read it before. No, I did read it before. So yeah, we talked about the Magic Quadrant before on the show. It's about how it's, I think a bunch of these important people, they go into a big boardroom, they draw a big box with 4 squares, and then they start putting dots of where these particular tools and companies are landing based on their completeness of vision and ability to execute. And Microsoft, of course, is in the leaders and visionaries, or sort of the leaders quadrant. The Everybody wants to be in that upper right hand upper quadrant, and of course Microsoft is right there. Now they're making a big deal of this. Now, of course, there's a few others there as well. So Microsoft does have competition in the low code application, the enterprise low code application platforms, but definitely they're in the right spot, in the right trajectory. Yeah, it's Monday morning. So yeah, pretty exciting news there. Kind of moving forward. So as in terms of a career and as a customer using this platform, you're in a good spot when you're using technology that sits there. So that's
Yeah.
news there.
Yeah, and now that we're on YouTube as well, you can just cut the thing with a quadrant into the YouTube video, right? So people can see this as you're talking about it.
Oh, okay. Now I got to cut out all your swear words and then also edit this in as well.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Because you're unemployed, right? You don't really have anything else to do. So
Yeah,
now
no,
this is
yeah,
your Monday.
exactly.
Perfect.
Exactly. I think I've taken over projects from a friend of mine that's eating up a lot of my time, but we'll see.
Right. All right. So you got helped out by a friend. That's perfect. And that sounds like that friend knows how to delegate as well. So that sounds also a skill that you can pick up. Right. Other news. Well, this is not really news, but this is something that I want to talk about because I felt like a complete idiot the other day when the customer and I went into one of our environments and I was going to show him something. And then he points at a yellow notification at the very top of our environments. And he says, "What's this?" Because he says that something is missing in something, something, something. And it
Mm.
said there's an environment variable missing in your environment. Please fill it in, click here, la la la. And I, as the experienced consultant that I am, I said, you know what? Don't worry about it. Full control. This is something. It's gonna, we're gonna remove it. It's something we added, and we're gonna remove it. And don't think about it. I didn't know what it was. I had no idea. And then
No
we
secrets out.
did some digging, and there was really not much to be found about it. And then I submitted a support ticket just to see what Microsoft would say in terms of what it was. And then she said that, oh no, it's something to do with the environment, sorry, the accelerator, the Microsoft Dataverse connector. And now I lost my train of thought.
It's the
So
Dataverse low
there,
code plugin accelerator.
right,
It was
that was what it was. Sorry.
no worries.
And so that solution had something has been updated in your environment. It requires an environment variable in order to work. And if you haven't set it up, then it will ask you until you do. And you cannot remove the notification, and it won't go away by itself until you do. And it will appear even though you did nothing. And there's really nothing you can do about it, and it will be removed. You will be able to remove it in upcoming updates. And I also saw some community friends of ours shared a link to documentation in Microsoft Learn about it as well this week. So it's not only you and it's not only us who wonders what this actually is. So we'll share the links to the announcement and the documentation in our show notes, and then you'll be able to go in and read all about it.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's there, whatever. But the actual thing that it's there for, what it enables, that's pretty exciting.
Yeah,
About
the
the
local plugging,
Yes. So
the public preview.
do you want to talk about that, or
No, sure, go ahead.
oh, you want me to talk? Okay. So what's cool about this is, and I think we mentioned this briefly before, it's the ability to create plugins. And of course, if you talk about plugins in Dataverse or Dynamics 365, of course, that immediately means a pro developer needs to create the DLLs in Visual Studio and upload those and the steps and the pre-image, post-image, all this other thing, fun things. Now there's a way to do this in Power Effects. And Power Effects, of course, is that low code language. So now you can begin to write plugins using Power Effects. Now, again, we'll still need developers for those more complex plugins and tools, of course, like Raw Fusion Teams. But this is now opens up another opportunity to allow makers to build some extended functionality in their Power Platform projects, or specifically Dataverse based projects. So pretty, even though yes, it's a little annoying with that little red, yellow stripe in your environments. What it kind of drilling down and digging down, it's actually a pretty neat function and provides a pretty amazing feature functionality. Rah rah rah, good stuff, and I'm super excited about it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Um, yeah, and then you had applied skills on the list of news. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, so this is really cool too. So this kind of came up last week. They're talking about applied skills. So right now, normally, if you want to prove that you're capable in a skill or something, one way to do it is to go write a certification exam. And I know you and I have both written certifications exams. My wife wrote the PL 600 last week and passed, of course, with higher scores than me. That's how it goes. And those are the ways to get certifications. Now, this thing is the applied skills is you go in and it's like a certification, but within the browser, it will actually launch a virtual machine and you actually have to do the work. So there's some instructions there. And this is for Power Automate. It says, hey, go and write some Power Automate flows that do, and I'm not going to give you the details because you have to try this out for yourself, but do like 3 different scenarios. And then you go in and you use Power Automate. It's actually in a working environment. And then you create those Power Automates. You got to test them. You need to prove that they work. And then once you're done all that work, and you have about a 2 hour window to do this, then you kind of hit submit, and then it's going to evaluate that environment and let you know whether you've passed or failed the scenarios. And then you get
Wow.
a new kind of certification. I think it's called something Power Automate Applied Skills Certification or something like that. So I did that on Friday. It was like late in the afternoon. I saw it. I was getting like, I wanted to do a bit of a brain switch, and I tried it out and it was pretty cool. I like this. If this is the way certification's going, this is awesome because this proves not only can and you do need to kind of know what you're doing in order to do this. Now, the other thing that surprised me, because how I'm a little skeptical at times about co-pilots, I actually used the Power Automate Copilot within this scenario, and it worked really well. I actually described the scenario, and it actually gave me the framework. Now, again, I still needed to know what I was doing. I still needed to move a few things around, made a few adjustments, but overall, it did save me a lot of time. Now, I could have done everything from ground up if I wanted to, but in this scenario, it actually did. It did really help out. I'm actually really impressed with the Power Automate Copilot and what it put together in these particular scenarios. So, and it's free, so everybody should give this a shot. And then just sort of evaluate your skills by actually doing the work.
Nice. That's very good. And also, in terms of we are interviewing a lot of candidates these days, and to have this as a backdrop for maybe some assignments that you give to whoever you are, as a technical test, for instance, that's where my mind went. So I think that's pretty cool, and something that I'm very excited to try out myself. I love these hands-on student labs, so that's perfect.
Yep. So yeah.
And not yeah, sorry.
No. I was going to say, tell me. I'm curious to see how well you do.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, and on to other teeny weeny news. The HTTP invocation for flows, the HTTP trigger, has finally become a bit more secure. Now you can actually trigger OAuth authentication for your Power Automate HTTP flow triggers, and that's very good news, right? Have you used them a lot?
I no. So it's interesting. I saw this, and now, of course, remember our conversation from a few episodes back earlier this year. We talked about Power Automate Flow and Power Pages, and then, of course, using HTTP triggers as a way that we used to do it before that became a thing before the Portal Web API, and of course, the huge security hole that it opened. And now, of course, we don't really need this in Power Pages anymore because we can call Cloud Flows, but I'd be interested. I haven't tried it, but I'd be interested to see if we're able to use these HTTP invocations with Power Pages, and it would respect, because the settings are, you can say anybody can run it, which is the current state, or you could say, or if they're OAuth, a regular user, or specific users, or something like that, or someone within your
Yeah.
tenant. There's different settings there. And I'm
Right.
curious to see if it would recognize the portal system user, which has changed a little bit or in the process of changing. If it would recognize that being from someone within your tenant when it runs that flow. Um, so anyway, regardless, it's perfect. It adds that extra level of security. I've not done a ton of work with that HTTP connector, but it definitely it is something. I think this is a good move for Microsoft to add that feature, and that will definitely help a lot of people out and lock down their systems to be a little bit more tighter.
Yeah, we use this a lot to kind of trigger from other systems. So, for instance, we have a product information system that triggers something in Power Automate, and then we create a whole bunch of other triggers based on the input that we get, for instance. So, this is really something that's going to be helpful in that kind of situation to make sure that it's not shared or anyone outside of the tenant, for instance, triggers it. So, yeah, really a good new enhancement for sure. And there was something else with in Power Automate, a new announcement that we wanted to talk about because we didn't really get what it was about, was it? So we both put this in here. Microsoft Power Automate work queues are now generally available. We both read through it and went, great, yeah, wow. What do you use it for? I asked you because you know everything, and you said the same. And so this is awesome. Um, so we're kind of curious, to whoever, to you who's listening, if you get why this is cool, please tell us because we can't really get wrap our heads around this, and we don't
Yeah,
have an experience in everything. It's impossible for everyone to know everything about the Power Platform, and these things come up, these announcements come up where Microsoft, as you were saying earlier, is very good at describing, what it is and what you can do and blah, blah, blah. But then the use case or what value does it bring kind of is lost in that communication sometimes. And if you don't have any hands-on experience using that thing, and then it's hard to imagine what this actually enhancement is for. So yeah, leave us a comment and on the social media post where you see this episode if you have insights into why this is a good announcement.
yeah. No, I think it's one of those things where I look through it and it's sort of like, okay, I do I get it? Do I not get it? Because we've had queues in Dataverse before, which I think is a completely different thing. But this was more, kind of staging Power Automate flows, kind of in an assembly line kind of thing, the way they described it. But I was like, okay, what's my use case scenario here? Is this something that would replace business process flows, for example, where you need to go through different stages? Or is this something, again, completely different? So again, I'm just trying to nail down get my head wrapped around the use case. So yeah, this is, I guess, I think we're going to reach out to our listeners. If someone can describe it, explain it to us like we're 4-year olds, then that would be really great to get our heads wrapped around this particular feature. Because I think if it kind of alludes to me what it could be used for, then maybe I have some use cases in my head, but I want to make sure. So yeah, that's another. This is a case of we don't know everything, and you can't know everything, and this is where the announcement was kind of rah, this great new feature, and like, okay, great, but what does it do? So
Yep, awesome.
cool. But something that it did they did announce, which I do know what it does, is connect to other environments using the Dataverse connector in preview. Did I add that or did you add that?
Um, I can't remember.
Okay,
Go
fair.
tell us what it is.
Fair enough. This is one of our greatest episodes ever. um, so basically, with this, you can connect to. So this is the thing. Now, originally, when the Dataverse connector came out, back when it was still the Dynamics 365 connector, where this all kind of came from and flow years ago. Basically, you had to define what environment you were connecting to, and that actually became deprecated over time, and then they came up with a new Dataverse connector, which could do like a whole bunch of different things. But then it was always in the environment that you ran, meaning if you created a flow using the new Dataverse connector, it would only apply to the Dataverse tables that were within that particular environment. And that should sort of suit 99% of the time. It makes sense. You're updating data, you're reading data, you're manipulating data. But there are those scenarios where you do want to write data to a different environment. Now, the old Dataverse connector, which was probably originally called the Common Data Service connector, because you had to specify the environment, it would allow you to do that. So you could actually, for instance, move data from one environment to another environment. But this was something that was missing from the new Dataverse connector. So those features have now been added to the current, I guess you could say, Microsoft Dataverse connector. So then that helps Microsoft one step further to deprecate the old one. So it gets really confusing because there was like the Dynamics 365 connector, which has been long gone deprecated. There was because you can connect it to the newer Dataverse connector, which is now considered deprecated. And then there's the current Dataverse connector. Anyways, so long story short, this is now kind of what we talk about creating parity. Parity will be achieved in the fullness of time. We're almost there. The one thing that this new connector is still missing is the ability to run when you select a row. What that means is in a model driven app, if you're in a view and you select a bunch of records or even one record, with the current deprecated Dataverse connector, you could still run a flow against those records. This still isn't there yet. So you still, in order to trigger a flow against those records, you still have to use that older connector. I think this is coming. I believe it's on the roadmap. So we'll get there. So eventually the new updated Dataverse connector will have everything ready for you. The reason why that run from a row selector in a model driven app is so important is because this is something we could do with regular workflows since I think CRM version 3. So that's a feature that people are very used to. It's very important to be able to do that, to run and update data and do different functions and things like that. So
Yeah.
definitely an exciting announcement that this is, one step further, because this is something that because they already had it in the old one, what was the holdup from getting it into the new one? I don't understand that. There was probably some engineering hiccup or hang up along the way. But now it's kind of nice to see that they're moving forward with this.
Yeah, that's an ask I've had for so long. And I actually created a flow just the other day that uses that old legacy connector. And I was, clinching, hope it's still there, because that's
Mhm.
the only way that I know how to get that to work. And it's for the, when you invite new user into a portal, for instance, you can go in and you can click mark your 5 contacts you want to send an invite to, and then you go up to flow and then you choose run flow and invite your portal users, and they will get individual emails with a link to redeem their contact, kind of thing. So those kinds of scenarios, I don't really know what I would do. Then you would have to have some kind of toggle or something to enable, and then you save, and then you have a modified on
Yeah.
trigger on that. So that's the workaround, right? You have
Yeah.
that modified on that column specifically, but it's not intuitive to end users. I think it's easier to teach them how to select users and run that flow. So
Yeah. And then you could tie
definitely
even,
something that we're looking at for.
yeah. And then I think you could tie that to a command bar button. So you could create a custom button to do the same thing, but you still need that flow, that capability and that connector to do that.
Yeah, and as you said, the old school workflow has been able to do this for eons, so it's
Yeah.
pretty special. And also, there's something where you cannot use it unless it's in a solution. So that's also something that I know I've seen a lot of people in different forums kind of can't use it. Something's going wrong with it, and then because you have to add it to a solution before you get it, or you can create something with it. So yeah, just those small details that everyone knows, but when you're new to this, it's completely impossible to know. So yeah, and on to something else. So this is the last item of the news items on our list. Ben Banken, he made a blog post about Power Virtual Agent Copilot prompts, where he's creating a new topic. And this is one of the first blog posts in the series that he's making for Power Virtual Agent and how to set them up. And this is about setting it up and then creating a topic using Copilot. So just wanted to shout out to Ben. I love to see people doing work with the Power Virtual Agent. It's really cool to see how you use Copilot. And also at the bottom, he kind of sums up what he felt it was like to use the Copilot and what it does good and what it's not so great at yet. So very good job, and keep it up. Looking forward to see the rest of that series for sure.
Cool. Yeah, it looks good.
So yeah, very good. Yeah, and Nick, we haven't talked about there's you've been out and about without me. I want to tell the people what you've been up to.
Yeah, sure. So one thing I did go on another podcast actually. With I went on the based on my making fun of them about their shout out. I was
So the
invited.
shout out back and forth kind of cultivated into can't you just come on our podcast and we'll settle this once and for all.
Yeah, so I chatted last. It was a week ago now. I chatted with, and that podcast has been released with Scott and Daryl. It was really interesting. We had a great conversation about the fact that Scott is now joining Microsoft as a senior cloud advocate. I of course, left Microsoft a month ago. So it was kind of a tag team. Okay, Scott, you're in. I'm out. Even though I was in a completely different role, we talked about the life at Microsoft, what it's like to be getting into the MVP program, and then from the MVP program moving into Microsoft, and then now I'm back out in the real world again. It was a good conversation, so definitely check that out. Of course, the XRM Toolcast, you should be on your podcast listening list anyway.
Yeah,
It's an amazing,
definitely.
as much as we make fun, they actually is an amazing podcast, and they have a lot of great guests and talk about different things in terms of developing around, even like from a maker perspective. If you're working anywhere in Power Platform or Dataverse or anything, it's just a great podcast to add to your list of many great podcasts that are out there.
Yeah, XRM Toolcast, and then because what was it's so exciting for you three to talk. I did listen to the episode and I enjoyed it. The part that I enjoyed the most was the shout out to AC/DC as the OG hackathon. Ah,
Yes.
it warmed my heart. That's my baby. Oh, I was so
Yeah.
excited about that.
You were
So
doing,
because sorry,
I would say it was hackathons before hackathons were cool. Like it was years
yeah.
ago. Yeah.
Yeah, years and years ago. I think 2024 was going to be the 15th time or something that we do it.
Wow.
So,
That's awesome.
yes, that's really cool. And I've been in the committee forever, and it's really, yeah, as I said, it's my baby. So and Scott, you were a judge there last year, and Scott's going to be a judge in 2024. So that's why I talked about it. And we're also going to have Sarah Lagerquist as a judge,
Mm.
and the list is coming together. So I'm really excited about it. So if hackathon is your thing and you can be in Oslo in February, please let Nick know because he's assembling a team of superheroes. Or yeah, was it the Bowser team or
Yeah, the Bowser
because
team.
the
Yeah.
theme is Super Mario this year?
Yep. Absolutely. Yep.
Absolutely. Yep.
Taking applications now. So
Yeah. So
cool.
that's the 1st till 4th of February. And the next week, I wanted to shout out because I know Malin and a couple of other people working with Fabric or with Power BI and Fabric and all of that. They're throwing an event the 8th of February 2024. That's what it's called. And the event is called Fabric February. So just wanted to mention that. So if you're into Fabric, Microsoft Fabric, and this is your thing, then keep an eye out for Fabric February, and we'll share the links in the show notes as well.
Yep. And then the other thing I did too last week when I was traveling, I went to a conference called Resco.next, and that's put on by a company called Resco. They have a mobility platform, which also ties into, of course, Dataverse and the Power Platform, amongst others as well. It was very interesting to learn about mobility in general. Do you realize these are the statistics that I was hearing there. There's twice as many what they call deskless workers than desk workers. So people that are out there using mobile solutions, using phones, tablets, even watches. They were demonstrating how in a factory there's a watch. I forget the name of it, but to do tasks and for managers to call out their employees to follow up on certain things. I learned a ton of information about the mobile world and really excited about the the opportunities that are there, of course, in the Power Platform and beyond. So there was nice. There was a few other folks, in the community as well, presenting. Daniel Lakovich was there. Guro Fowler, Auntie Putnam, in terms of MVPs, Rick McCutcheon. I did a panel with him, which is on LinkedIn. I think you can still see the live stream there about AI and the future mobility. And of course, the Power Platform ties into all of this as well. So that was a really cool event to be at. And then when I went now to sunny Spain, you went north. You went the opposite direction.
I went the other way. I went to Trondheim, north in Norway, or mid of Norway, for Trondheim Developer Conference, and did a talk there about low code and Power Platform. Now, usually when I go to conferences, it's with a gang and we're all there and it's community and everyone knows what Power Platform is. Now, this is talking to developers, hardcore developers. Most of them haven't even heard about Power Platform, just to open their eyes to what low code can be and what low code and Fusion teams are all about, and trying to put the buzzwords in the right order, kind of thing. So it was very cool. I connected with the community there, and yeah, had loads of fun. And this week I'm going to Narvik, another very very good, nice Norwegian city, to a travel seminar kind of conference, also talking about, so this is the other end of that spectrum now, talking to pro developers in one end last week, and then this week talking to people that barely can open their emails, kind of thing, about digitalization and what you can do with the Power Platform. And the advent of Copilot really has put the low coder, that's for the low coder, and for people that really don't know what this is about and don't feel like they have this skill set to pick this up and really feel like they're all thumbs in this, then this is actually it's actually good news for them. So trying to convey the same message but to a completely different audience this week.
And because you
And
have,
also, yeah, sorry.
I was going to say, because I know you have no sense of geography, I went and looked it up on the maps, and that is north. Like that's real north. Like I know you were north before, but that is north north. So make sure you pack warm
Yeah.
socks.
Yeah, and we got we got a message early last week saying that check the weather, because it's not like Oslo. And then this week when the snow came here, then yeah, it's a reminder that Norway is a long country, and yes, I need to check the weather forecast before I pack for this. And also, I wanted to shout out. We have a little spot called Community Shoutouts. After when we went to Nordic Summit, someone came up to me after our session about 10 tips and tricks for Power Pages, asking me about a very detailed question. And my mind was all mush. So I said, "Can you please send me a message on LinkedIn?" And she did. And not a lot of people do, but she did. Maya, she asked me on LinkedIn
Cool.
about a very detailed question with Power Pages and images, that her caseworkers paste images in a rich text field in model-driven apps, and they can't really get it to show up in Power Pages.
Yeah.
Now, I'm swamped. I haven't a second to myself. So I asked another community friend, Franco Musso, for help. Can you please help Maya out with this? Because he's really good at graphics and does a lot of visual work with Power Pages. And they scheduled a half-hour meeting. They shared their screens. They got it to work. And I'm so grateful for Franco that you actually picked this up and help people. And you've done this for me and other community people in the past. I just wanted to highlight the amazing work that community, what this is about, right? To help each other out, and to, it's nothing in it for us other than just helping each other out. And I really love that. So,
And he wrote a
and
blog post on it as well.
yeah, I think the blog post came before the question from Maya. So it's actually one of those things where someone asked me something on the left side, and didn't Franco write a blog post about this the other day on the left side, and then just bringing it all together. So I think this blog post we're going to put a link to in the show notes is actually what solved her problem. And she agreed to come on. She's Swedish, so she agreed to come on Portal Lunch that we have on November 15th, which is a Norwegian online community meetup for Power Pages, to show off the problem and the solution, because I think this is something that many people, or requests many people get for Power Pages, working with exactly the customer cases and images in rich text fields, etc. So this is really, really good. So thank you, Franco, and thank you, Maya, for a good question and for reaching out. So this is really cool.
Cool. All right. Yeah. So just talking a little bit about the Boost Quest. This so I kind of messed. I was a day late, and then I didn't even get the video uploaded on all the social platforms. I did kind of
We
got
can't
some of
always get it right.
no. So this was a bit of a mess this week, but and it was about what type of so I think we'll just leave this and maybe we'll discuss this more just because give it a chance to grow a little bit, maybe talk about it next time. But it's about what events do you prefer going to, because of course we just went through a whole slew of different events. Is it the local community updates, like like the portal lunch kind of thing, or the user groups that I know the UK does, and you go in the evening and 1 or 2 sessions? Or do you like those community events like the Nordic Summit, the Scottish Summit, the South Coast, where they're free or almost free? You pay a nominal fee, but it's a full day of sessions. Or the big mega conferences like, Dynamics Communities had theirs in Charlotte, NPPPC, of course, and European Power Platform Conference, where you pay a premium, but then you also get access. It's multiple days. You get a lot of access to Microsoft people and those types of things. So what is your preference? Or do you have some other preference? Like maybe people still like virtual events. I don't know. So definitely go to that link. We'll try to sort it out, and then we'll talk maybe more about what people's preferences are on the next episode. So that's just my way to defer that.
Yeah, it's all right. We're very busy, and yeah, this is a busy time. I think we've both had a busy autumn so far, and I we talked about this initially also that I'm for one feeling a bit drained. I know that November for me is a hard month. There's barely sun in Norway at this time of year. It's getting very dark, and so I feel like I'm not really all the way there, but I'm slowing down. I've relieved myself of some responsibilities at work and at home, just to slow down and take a minute. So
And
and I felt
it's
that recording this episode as well. I'm not all the way here, and just wanted to speak to that because I know there's a lot of people that feel after being very busy for a period of time, it's important to just take a step back and to calm yourself down and just take a breath and take a second. And it's okay. I will never stop doing this podcast with you. And I know that we pull each other's weight a bit when we're busy. So you're pulling my weight this time. And I really appreciate that you do that for me, Nick. And for everyone's listening, I'm not going anywhere, and I'll be back next in a couple of weeks, and I'll be more present and better prepared. Let's say it that way.
no, like you said, yeah, you're right. This is a team effort, and this is what speaks to the community as well. Like you talked about people helping each other out, whatever. And we do work in an industry where we can get overwhelmed very quickly. Context switching is very hard. Um, you see the projects and things like that, and it's also there's deadlines and everything else. Very high pressure. And yeah, then if you are feeling yeah, if you're feeling overwhelmed or whatever, just know there's people out there you can reach out to. And even you could reach out to us. I know we're busy, whatever, but if anything, we can try to help you, point you in the right direction. But yeah,
Yeah.
definitely, you're not alone.
Yeah, and we help each other out, and also the comments that we get. I just got a message earlier today from a good friend of mine in the community saying that I just listened to your latest episode and I just love it and find it so funny, and comments like that really helps, and it makes my day. So thank you.
Yeah,
And also, another thing that goes a long way is for you to share this podcast with someone if you like it. And if you're still listening, then I guess you do. And or subscribe to wherever you listen to these podcasts. It also helps. And we appreciate you listening. We really, really do.
definitely.
And yeah,
We'll see you all next
yeah,
time on November 15th. So,
yes.
all
And
right.
thank you so much for listening to the Power Platform Boost podcast with your host, Ulrika Ackerbeck and Nick Dolman. And we'll see you in a couple of weeks
Okay,
for
bye.
your timely boost of Power Platform News.
Okay,
Bye
bye.
bye.